Hello, everybody. This is Anthony from Traders Ultimate Edge. We'll take a look at the market here today. As you can see, we came up here, peaked, actually made a new all-time high overnight, and then pulled back. Today, you'll see here on the right side of my screen, this is a list of all the sectors. It was mostly XLK, which is tech, and XLY, consumer discretionary, that weighed down the entire rest of the market. XLC was down a little bit, but XLC contains Facebook and Google. So that's why. The whole rest of the market was actually mostly up. And you see here SPY V versus SPY G. This was clearly a rotation today into value from growth. So there was two pieces of news that came out today that can really kind of cause this move. And if you look here at the chart at what says 7 o'clock here on my screen, was the interest rate decision out of the Bank of England this morning. They raised their rates. They raised their interest rates. So that, I think, weighed a little bit on growth. And then later in the day, I think it was right here maybe. It's right here somewhere. News came out about COVID cases increasing significantly in the UK, which I think contributed to a push downward throughout the rest of the day. And that's kind of borne out by that SPY V versus SPY G rotation, as value is deemed to do better both in the COVID environment and in the raising rates environment. So here's the thing too. If you look at where we fell, we got support right in this sort of congestion area from yesterday, and then it came up and it ended above this area. Now, this was after the statement was issued from the Fed, but before Powell started to talk. Okay, so the market didn't take back any of Fed right here. It didn't take that back. So I think the market is still believing in what the Fed put out in their statement. I don't think the Bank of England thing weighed too hard, and if you don't understand the correlation, the thought process is that, well, the B of E raised their interest rates. You know, what's to stop our bank from, or our Fed from going back on what they said and raising their rates? That's why the potential issue there. But you can see it fell and found a nice bounce. This is a 15-minute chart, by the way. Found a nice bounce until we got the COVID news, which was right here, I think. I'd have to go look it up. And then it fell. So I think, again, there's that word, think. I think this was related to the coronavirus. We can look in other places, too. Over here is oil. It was peaking really nice, and then it fell back like this. And this fall off, obviously related to coronavirus there with oil. But if we look around the market at the end of the day, you can see here advanced decline. It's actually almost even. It was down a little bit. We look around here a little bit. People didn't really buy a whole lot of puts. See, gold actually kind of came up. But here at the very end of the day, from 12:30, growth started getting bought back up. Right, we ended down here. It's from right here, from 12:30, or excuse me, from 12:20, started getting bought back up. And if we come over here and we look at this chart, the market hadn't even bottomed by that point. So here was where growth started getting bought back up. It was over here. The market didn't even bottom for another 30 minutes. So I think this was probably big money starting to accumulate growth back here because the prices had fallen so much. So I think big money's in here. I think they're buying. This end of the day was really just a nearly even match between bulls and bears as everybody closed their positions on the day. We're now seeing a bounce up after the end. That's kind of normal after a big pull down like this. I am in SPY calls here. I think that we can continue a move back up. I think this, like I've already said, I think this was on the back mostly of COVID news. Otherwise, if it was fear of interest rates, we would have gone a lot lower. We would have gone a lot lower, a lot faster. We just kind of ground down today. It wasn't like this. This is interest rate right here. See how this is very quick? This is not. This is a slow grind. And we also didn't take back these levels from yesterday. Okay, if we look over here, we had 4,600 as a level where people were concerned about interest rates. We didn't get anywhere near that today. We This is the 50% retrace. It came down past it a little bit, and now it's headed back up to it. So again, that's why I don't think this was based off of the interest rates. Maybe it was a little bit, but I think it's Corona. And again, all Corona for me is buyable. All Corona dips are buyable, especially with Omicron. The news coming out of the UK that they've had a ton of cases now, but they have still actually only reported a single confirmed death, and that's not BS. Go look it up for yourself. A single confirmed death. Looking at numbers coming out of South Africa, I read some analysis today. Kind of looks like COVID cases have peaked. Deaths are incredibly low. Hospitalizations are low. So we know still that that Omicron is not a big baddie, and could in fact turn out quite good for the whole coronavirus situation. There's also news that came out a few days ago that everybody seemed to have missed and ignored. That was Pfizer. They came out, reiterated the high 80% efficacy on their oral treatments that keeps people out of the hospital. So it's like 87 or 89% effective at keeping people out of the hospital that got the Delta variant of COVID. And so it's a much meaner version of COVID, right? And they reiterated again that it's effective with Omicron. And that's because it affects proteins that have nothing to do with the actual molecule of the coronavirus. It's really interesting, actually. Go check it out. It just prevents the virus from replicating, and it's pretty fascinating. So it should have complete effectiveness on Omicron as well, at the same numbers. And people kind of seem to miss that. That's the pill that turns COVID from something that you could die from into something that's a minor annoyance, like you go to the doctor and get antibiotics. That's the pill that does that. And everybody just kind of seemed to gloss over that news that came out a couple days ago. So I think this is fine. I think this is perfectly viable. We're in SPY calls here today, and I would like to have a little bit of a gap up going into tomorrow. I think we could get a little gap up and head back towards this 4,700. This would be my take profit on those calls is going to be 4,700 on the ES. All right, that's all I've got. Hope you all have a nice evening. Take care. Bye-bye.